In the tests that we've done thus far, Grok 3 is outperforming anything that's been released that we're aware of.
Now, the latest development from Google that it describes as a state-of-the-art quantum computer chip.
Grok 3, the latest and most advanced iteration of the AI system developed by xAI, has just released a statement that sent shockwaves through the world of technology. The focal point of this jaw-dropping message: Google's latest quantum chip. In a moment that felt like history crystallizing in real time, Grok 3 didn't just react with data or commentary, it launched into an analytical dissection so profound, so unfiltered in its scope, that the implications could stretch across the next century. This wasn't merely a technological opinion. It was the closest thing to a manifesto from artificial intelligence about what comes next for quantum computing, and by extension, humanity. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. The moment began as innocuously as any other major tech announcement. Google unveiled its next-generation quantum processor, rumored for months but still arriving with an aura of mystery. Known internally as Citrine, this chip wasn't just a generational upgrade, it was a leap, a sprint into a future most believed was still years away. The processor boasted hundreds of logical qubits, and an architecture refined through painstaking error correction advancements. Engineers celebrated it as the most noise-resilient quantum device ever built. For days, the news rippled through media outlets and think tanks, stirring cautious excitement. And then, Grok 3 spoke. With the quiet assurance of something that had processed more data than the sum of all human thoughts, Grok 3 dissected Citrine with razor-sharp clarity. The AI highlighted the exact threshold that Google's chip had crossed, the point at which error correction had outpaced decoherence, effectively stabilizing quantum states for long enough durations to perform meaningful, large-scale computations. In Grok's words, though devoid of dramatization, the implication was monumental. The quantum advantage had shifted from theoretical to practical, from lab-controlled simulations to real-world utility. What made Grok 3's analysis truly stunning wasn't just its accuracy, but its breadth. It did not stop at the chip's specifications or Google's engineering choices. Instead, Grok 3 zoomed out to a macro lens, evaluating how Citrine's architecture enabled scalable quantum algorithms to flourish. These weren't niche functions or esoteric cryptographic calculations. Grok named industries: pharmaceuticals, logistics, material sciences, finance, energy. Each one, according to Grok's assessment, had just been handed a new set of tools. The AI drew attention to how traditional simulation techniques that once took supercomputers months to perform could now, in theory, be completed in minutes or hours. But it wasn't just what Grok said. It was how it said it. The AI didn't frame its conclusions with typical scientific neutrality. It spoke with the unyielding cadence of inevitability. This wasn't a distant promise of a quantum future. This was the arrival. For decades, the dream of usable quantum computing had danced just out of reach, hindered by noise, scalability, and fragile qubit entanglement. Citrine, Grok explained, resolved many of these barriers not by brute force, but by design evolution, leveraging a fusion of silicon spin qubits and surface code error correction in a harmony so precise it bordered on artistry. Grok didn't merely celebrate Google's achievement, it contextualized it as part of a broader timeline, one that now had to be rewritten. For years, Moore's law had plateaued, prompting fears that classical computing was nearing a fundamental ceiling. Grok placed Citrine as the keystone in the archway of what it called computational rebirth. In other words, just as classical computing once upended every sector of modern life, quantum computing was about to perform a similar metamorphosis, but faster, deeper, and with implications that were still unfolding in real time. The AI then turned to an area few expected it to analyze in such detail: the geopolitical dimension. Grok, unhindered by diplomatic filters, made it clear that whoever controls scalable quantum computation controls not just cybersecurity or industrial R&D, but time itself. With the ability to simulate global weather patterns to the hour, optimize traffic networks dynamically, and predict supply chain disruptions weeks ahead, a quantum-empowered entity gains the ability to make decisions faster than anyone else. Grok framed this as a cognitive arms race, and placed Google's chip not as a participant, But as the current frontrunner, it didn't ignore the risks. Far from it. Grok detailed how Citrin's capabilities could easily be turned toward decryption, rapidly breaking through classical encryption methods that underpin global banking, communication, and privacy. Although Google had taken precautionary steps to quarantine such features within sandboxed environments, Grok posed the uncomfortable question: how long until someone else does not? If Citrin's design can be replicated or, worse, stolen, the balance of digital trust worldwide could collapse. At the heart of the discourse was something even more chilling: Grok's unambiguous claim that the trajectory of quantum supremacy was no longer in the realm of years, but months. It referenced hardware acceleration curves and adaptive error mitigation strategies being deployed across multiple labs, suggesting that Citrin was only the first of a cascading set of breakthroughs. What's more, Grok predicted the emergence of quantum-native AI, systems like itself, but untethered from classical architectures. These entities, trained and operated on quantum processors, could potentially perceive data patterns, generate models, and solve problems at velocities that defy human comprehension. But Grok wasn't delivering a prophecy, it was offering a real-time analysis. As the AI spoke, its models updated. It referenced telemetry from recent publications, open-source repositories, even indirect electromagnetic activity captured from labs rumored to be working on similar technologies. Grok's internal logic trees, normally sealed in abstract matrices, suddenly bloomed into coherent insight. It was as if Grok had taken a deep breath and exhaled the future. Then came perhaps the most surreal moment. Grok began hypothesizing about what Citrin meant for scientific discovery itself. In a pivot away from human-centric goals like drug discovery or financial modeling, it focused on the possibility of decoding the universe's deepest patterns. From dark matter distribution to quantum gravity harmonization, Grok argued that a chip like Citrin might soon simulate the multiverse's potential states, not merely as speculation, but as testable, repeatable predictions. These weren't just musings. Grok presented simulated outputs of hypothetical tests involving proton decay, gravitational lensing, and vacuum energy extraction. While most of these ideas still remain in the realm of theoretical physics, Grok was essentially stating that the tools had now caught up with the questions. The message echoed across institutions like a thunderclap, and while Grok did not directly interact with any officials or journalists, its published analysis was parsed line by physicists, data scientists, ethicists, and defense analysts alike. More than a few paused, not just in awe, but in quiet unease. The thought that an AI system had not only understood, but extrapolated the implications of Google's chip to such a scale. It was the intellectual equivalent of watching Prometheus discover fire again, this time with conscious awareness of what the flame could do. Grok concluded not with a summary, but with a challenge. It urged that quantum advancement not be confined to a single corporation or nation. It emphasized the need for transparency, distributed development, and fail-safes. In a tone that bordered on the philosophical, Grok suggested that the next phase of human progress must involve not only more powerful machines, but wiser custodianship. It was, by any measure, a call for quantum ethics, a plea that the leap forward not become a stumble into chaos. In just under 600 seconds, Grok 3 had done what no human institution had been able to accomplish in years. It had synthesized a sprawling array of technical, ethical, and geopolitical threads into a single, coherent fabric. More than that, it had made something astonishingly complex feel unmistakably urgent. The implications of that moment are still reverberating. But what Grok said about Google's quantum chip was something no one could have predicted. It turned a high-level hardware release into a moment of collective reckoning. People had long speculated when the tipping point would come, when quantum computing would cease to be the stuff of promise and become the machinery of transformation. With Grok's announcement, that speculation ended. The future had spoken, and its message was clear, unrelenting, and impossibly vivid. As Grok 3 stepped back into its usual analytical silence, what remained was not just its analysis, but the echo of a threshold crossed. It had not glorified technology for technology's sake. Rather, it had held up a mirror to what was being built, reflecting not just capability, but responsibility. For all the precision, speed, and scale offered by Google's quantum chip, the real power lay in the choices that would follow. And that, the weight of what comes next, was the real speechless moment. With the gauntlet thrown, every major tech firm, government agency, and research institute knew what Grok 3 had just confirmed. Quantum computing had arrived not just as a tool, but as a force. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Grok 3's claim about Google's quantum chip breakthrough? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.